Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Corsace Closed 2024, the battle of the former bronze medalists. It is Enri up against his kitten, known by some as xootynator, and I'm joined once again by T1G. And let me tell you what I'm excited for this match is that if there was a match today where we were going to see Nomad 6, I think this would be the one. I think Enri, very, very good rating player. Doesn't seem like he'd be the one to ban that out in Zooty. Might be more focused on banning out some of those tapping picks. What do you think?
Yeah, we've had DT2 and Nomad 6 so far banned in every match, and maybe, just maybe, this is going to be our opportunity to see at least
No,
one of those. Nope, it's gone, but
that didn't
goodbye.
last
All right,
long.
goodbye, Nomad 6. Well, that does mean we can see DT2, though, because Enri
It
can
does.
pick DT2 as one of his first two picks, because I think, if you look at these two players, one of the biggest skill discrepancies I would expect between them is going to be the raw tapping and speed, which, Zooty has historically not been her strong suit, and historically Enri has been very, very good at. And he's going to drop in the Hard Rock 2 first ban. So do we want to talk about Hard Rock in qualifiers between these two, iFlame?
Yeah. So, xootynator.
Oh, it's HR1 ban. I apologize, not HR2. Anyway, that'll get
Okay.
fixed immediately. But go on.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. xootynator, third place on the Hard Rock 1, which was kind of your pretty standard Hard Rock. 16th, last place on the Precision. Meanwhile, Enri was second place on the Hard Rock 2 Precision, 11th on Hard Rock 1. So they did well on opposite Hard Rock picks. And we do see a DT1 pick out of Enri. Makes a lot of sense. But just kind of taking a look at these players as a whole, just looking back to their qualifiers, really reflects exactly what you'd expect just based off of knowledge of these players. xootynator are obviously very good at the game, had a lot of success in qualifiers on most of the ones, Nomad 1 and 1 Hard Rock 1. Did struggle a little bit more on the DT one. It was the only one she didn't do very well on. And so that's what Enri's picked here, DT1. Enri, very, very good speed player. xootynator, she has actually improved the speed a ton over the past year. And this is more of an aim-focused DT pick with some finger control elements as well, so speed not really a factor. I just 10.4, which is higher than usual. 10.3 is more common, so it's maybe going to be a little bit more uncomfortable, but I think both players are going to be relatively okay with 10.4. And it is a fairly long map as well, so even though we do see an early miss from Enri, it shouldn't matter too much as long as Enri can recover. Does have a 2% accuracy advantage as well, and here we go into the first PI. It's a fairly consistent map in terms of difficulty, so I expect both these players are going to be able to build up their combos quite a bit, and it isn't going to be until potentially later in the map that we see more misses, but I stand corrected as xootynator trades that miss right back, and Enri now has 200 combo advantage, is going to very quickly bring this score lead back over, especially when you have the accuracy lead. That score bar can flip over very, very quickly. There are still another 2 PIs to go and plenty of time for Zooty to make a comeback.
Yeah, I think what you're going to see on any of these picks, kind of along these lines, right, is Enri holding these accuracy leads, being more comfortable on all the tapping elements, but Zooty is going to be the more comfortable of the two, generally speaking, on any aim element in any map that they come across. Hence the Enri Hard Rock 1 ban. But you can see here, she's starting to have a little trouble. I think, as you mentioned, that super high approach rate and the relatively high BPM, just going to be a bit more challenging for Zooty than for Enri here. And I think this a very solid first pick. You anticipated a DT1 or DT2 first pick here, and we were rewarded with the DT1 first pick, which we've seen several times now so far today. And I think it's been split. I think it's been a break point and it's been a 1 point in a couple different matches, and it's looking like it's going to be a 1 point here again as Enri has built up quite a big lead. Zooty struggling quite a lot in that kind of third quarter of the map, and into the ending, it's a 700 combo lead for Enri, a couple percent, 4% accuracy lead. This is just his, absolutely right within his wheelhouse and absolutely not within, unfortunately, Zooty's.
Certainly is, and I don't think Zooty's going to be too worried about this one. This is kind of how you expect first picks to go generally. Unsurprising, it would almost be more concerning, of course, if Zooty won this one. Enri, of course, going to be very strong on his own first pick, but there's still a lot of picks in the pool. Of course, only one map ended in the Hard Rock 1. xootynator still has quite a few options left open, namely, I think, looking towards that Nomad one and the hidden one. But xootynator also a very, very good alt player as well. So while I think she will be looking towards the aim picks early, I do think later on in the match, she might, once the aim picks are all picked away, she might opt towards some of those more alt-focused picks, like something the Nomad 3 potentially. There isn't really a hard rock or hidden alt pick, which is slightly unusual. You kind of have a Nomad and a DT alt, and I'm not sure she'd want to pick the DT alt against a player like Enri. So we'll see where she goes after the aim, but it's going to be hard rock 2. Mirigo Queen Bee. This is going to be your precision CS 6.5. And interestingly enough, you mentioned at the start of this match, these players had opposite results on the hard rock, and it was Enri who performed very well in precision hard rock. xootynator, 16th place on the precision hard rock in qualifiers. Clearly feels much more comfortable on this one, and it is a pretty alt. I guess it's kind of alt streams, 153 BPM, so I'd say more alt, but it is very streamy, not too heavy on the aim. But we saw in our last match how insanely difficult those streams get towards the end. We saw both players holding FCs through the first half of the map, and the first half is certainly much easier than the ending. So this is the kind of map where you expect really big combos at the start, and things to potentially fall apart for either one or both players very quickly into the second half of the map.
This map really just gets progressively more and more difficult. Those flow patterns, the cut patterns, the kind of reversing aim in the flow patterns at the end it's very, very challenging. Big shout outs to MCY4, by the way, on this map before, because that was an insane run he had. But we'll see how these two fare on this pick. As you said, it's a little interesting to see Zooty going from 16th in qualifiers on the small circle map into early picking it here. And there is going to be an early couple of misses on that stream, so Enri with the advantage. Only a quarter of the way through. A lot of maps still to go, but he's going to start off with combo lead, accuracy lead, score lead, all in his favor.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a worry. You really can't afford to miss on the early sections, I don't think. The first half of this map is so much easier than the ending that if you let your opponent build up this much of a score advantage in the first half of the map, unless you absolutely pop off in the ending and your opponent misses, it's going to be really, really hard to make that recovery. Of course, xootynator, very strong on a map like this, does find another miss though, traded by Enri, but xootynator really needs to find some recovery combo. Enri's just going to be able to hold on to this lead, and although Enri would have liked to hold on to that combo advantage, it's going to be perfectly okay with even combo. It's xootynator who is on the back foot. It is xootynator who is playing catch up, and it is Zooty who needs to find a combo advantage into the second half of this map, and it gets absolutely brutal. We've got one kind of death stream section, and the last quarter of this map is where things really get crazy. We'll see. xootynator, not far behind, only 100,000. She can bring it back, but needs to play extremely well into the ending.
Yeah, this is going to need to be Zooty just absolutely locking in for the last third of the pick if she wants to make this comeback happen. It's not a humongous gap. It's only 90,000 points. But with those combos dead even and the accuracy somewhat in favor of Enri, that just makes it a little bit more difficult. And, you know, the song accelerates and the map accelerates to go along with it, which is a challenge to everybody, and we'll see whose flow aim will reign supreme. As both players building up to quite some serious combo here, nearly 500 for both of them, as we are going to be entering the ending stages of the map where it really hits its crescendo. Who will be able to hold on is going to be the big question. So far, both of them, which just makes the nerves grow even more.
Yep, here we go. This is where the streams get super spaced. As you said, this is where it's going to start to get crazy. xootynator has really massive combo now, 650. All it takes is one miss from Enri. But Zooty finds the first miss, and I think that's probably going to be it. Still down by 100,000, and Enri is holding on so far into this ending. We saw MCY4 nail most of the ending, only missing on that very last pattern right before the spinner. Enri does find the miss as well, but it is going to be too late for Zooty. 200 combo advantage is not going to be enough, unfortunately. And it will be an early break point on Hard Rock 2. Enri up 2-0 with the next pick.
Yeah, very nice performance from Enri there. Zooty, I think, falling a little short of her expectations for a map like this. I think you need to be aiming for that high 600, 700K mark minimum on a map like this with competition such as you're seeing in this tournament. As Enri finishes it off at 643K, Zooty down at 488K. I am going to say that I think this was a little bit of a blunder of a first pick. Personally, I think when you see your opponent banning a Hard Rock 1 that's literally 100% aim, I don't know why you would go anywhere other than an aim map when you have the Nomad 1 and the Hidden 1 both available to you. I think going into a Hard Rock pick like this was a little bit questionable. Obviously, xootynator knows her practice scores better than I do, so she has a more informed decision. But from the perception from this side of the screen, I feel like that was a much more risky pick. And I think I would have liked to see an aim selection more there. But now, Enri with that breakpoint already and the next pick to come, he's got Nomad 5, he's got DT2. It's going to be the Nomad 5 pick here. I don't really know that I see a world, unless Enri really fumbles the aim sections of this map, I don't know that I see a world where Zooty can compete on this map against a player of his caliber on this type of pick.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree, all right? Even though Zooty knows her own practice scores, you don't know Enri's scores. And I feel like, especially this early in the pool, especially with the qualifier results that we had, you have to assume Enri can play the map decently well. And as you said, Enri picking the other speed map left open before it has a chance to be banned out, something we didn't see in the last match. And it's a pretty long one, 240 BPM speed. And we have seen Zooty improve her speed quite a lot. I do think 240 won't necessarily be consistent, but it's not like she's going to be struggling massively on a pick like this. I think she should be able to keep up her combo, especially on a map like a T plus Pazalite kind of map that I don't think has any crazy long streams, although I could be misremembering. And so a bit of a longer one, but not really any death streams. You see her dropping 100s, but she holds onto the combo, and sometimes that's all you need. But Enri, like you said, so good at these speed picks, not the kind of player you expect to fall apart on a map like this. And so she will need to get a little bit lucky, but doing amazing so far. 1/3 of the way into the map, and both players holding FC. Enri, 3% accuracy difference is the score lead right now.
Yeah, I think this is kind of how these maps tend to go in xootynator matches. She is always going to be struggling on the axe side, but is often able to hold on the combo side. And that's just what's happening here again. Like, she's able to hold the combo, but she's 2.5% accuracy behind, and that's, 40K score. So any break is really brutal when you're behind. But we have seen some, I believe, some upsets on this pick, right? We have, or what would appear to be upsets on paper at least, because, a superior aim player was able to hold through the shorter bursts and, with lower axe still end up winning because of the combo. Zooty looking to see if she can make that happen, but Enri is looking so solid. What is it, maybe 200 so far for him? Really looking cool, calm, and collected.
Yep. But until Zooty finds the miss, she's not out of it. 1000 combo is huge. All it takes is one miss, one slider break from Enri. And Zooty could pass him so quickly, but Zooty finally drops on that zigzag stream. Enri holds, still insane accuracy, and might very well be holding the rest of the way through. Enri is so insanely good at these speed picks. And this might be the first match so far in this tournament where it feels like the speed player is the all-rounder, more so rather than just the pure speed player. It struggles otherwise.
Yeah, we've had several of those matchups already, and we kind of discussed it. You have Secret Box, who's maybe not a raw speed player, but generally a very good tapping player. Oh, that's just an FC, by the way, as we are on
casual,
our tangent there.
3 times 100,
The 4 100s FC did, I think, drop a slider end, so it's not going to be a perfect combo, but an FC is an FC, and that's about as big of a win as you're likely to see. Honestly, not a bad showing from Zooty, right? Nearly 600K, but down at 95 act 5 misses against a player like Enri. That's this is actually, like, unironically kind of easy for him, I feel.
Yeah. No, Enri, I feel like, is a player that is really leveled up. Even going back to last Corsace Closed, it feels like was when he really started popping off. Went in as the 7th seed, lost to Ciccone, who was the 10th seed, I think 6-3 in the very first round to drop to losers bracket, and just made a really crazy, impressive losers bracket run to finish 3rd place in Corsace Closed 2023. And since then, I think it's fair to say I'd imagine everybody should have Enri in their top 5 tournament players. He has been so good, so consistent, and has been shown to have a really high skill cap as well. And looking good so far. We've got a Nomad 1 pick from xootynator. This is the kind of picks we were expecting along with Hidden 1, but because she opted to pick the Hard Rock 2 first, Enri now has the option to ban out the Hidden 1 if he wants to do so. This, of course, Nomad is pretty standard Nomad 1. It is slightly fast, 246 BPM. It is a very quick aim for a Nomad 1, but otherwise, there's nothing really crazy.
Yeah, this is, I think, more notable for its BPM than most other aspects because it's essentially, it just feels like an aim practice map that's a little bit faster than normal. It's big jump patterns wherever the mapper could cram them in. I think the aim in this not necessarily quite as difficult as the aim in the Hard Rock 1, though they're comparable. But you know, the BPM being a little higher obviously throws a little different aspect to it. And into first KI we go with Zooty dropping a couple hundreds, both players holding on to the FC. This is what I was curious about. You know, Enri banning out the Hard Rock 1, leaving this available. How would he end up performing? Because you had to figure Zooty would pick it eventually. And the answer is so far so good, as we're about a third of the way through, and he is still holding a quite high accuracy FC, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, Enri doesn't really like the Hard Rock, but is no slouch on aim in general. Especially on that hidden aim, but Nomad aim is not going to be bad either. Once again, really impressive accuracy from both players this time around, as the Nomad ones tend to be very comfortable to hack, and generally it comes down to 1 or 2 misses in those KI sections that have the really tricky jumps.
And then we go to the next KI. Still the double FC intact. You know, it just feels like almost every top tournament player these days has very good aim on top of whatever their specific skill set might be. It seems impossible to avoid being at least pretty competent in the aim department.
Yeah.
So even if it's not your specialty, like, you're at least all right at it, especially when it's a quote-unquote only 7.6 stars. Only 7.6 star aim.
Yeah, both players though still holding, nailing that pattern, and I will say, despite some of her struggles so far in this tournament with other skill sets, I think Zooty remains to this day one of the best aim players in the game easily. She's just so good, which is honestly kind of amazing with the area she plays with. Never seen an aim player with such big area, but there's not much of this map to go. And they're still holding. There's one more tricky jump section coming up, but it very well could come down to the accuracy here, unless we see one of them find a miss into the ending. But it's no harder than any of the jump sections they've hit before. Both nailing those back and forth, that star pattern. And it might just be a win on accuracy for Enri. One more pattern to go. And there it is.
There's a little bit at the end here. If you drop 100 or something, you never know.
But
there's a little bit more aim. It just doesn't stop until the very last second, but Enri with that accolade by just a couple hundreds into the last pattern in the map, and he hits it. It's a double FC, and it's an Enri victory by 5,000 points. The 2 100s against 4 is all the difference that it took. And yeah, everybody's just good at aim now, you guys. That is outrageous to see. A double FC on the Nomad 1, and that's brutal for Zooty, man. The 4-0 double break down going into the second ban phase with a loss like that. 4-100 FC is not good enough to win the map.
Yeah, that has to feel so bad for Zooty. I mean, a really impressive play. 4x100 on the Nomad 1, and it's just not enough. Enri with a 2x100 is going to be up by 3 now. That's a second breakpoint in a row. We are into the second ban phase. There is still some tapping that Zooty could ban out. The DT2 is still open. I think that is the most likely ban. But it's going to be banning out the DT3 instead. So doesn't want to play the alt aim control DT pick. It's a pretty tricky one, but I'm a little bit surprised because the 240 BPM been left open, although we did see her put up really good combo on the Nomad 5, so maybe she's comfortable enough to actually try and play the DT2 against enri, remains to be seen. Enri might ban up the HD1. I think that's probably Zooty's last kind of super comfortable map, but doesn't necessarily need to, right? Enri is a very, very strong HD player, and we saw him just win that Nomad 1 with 2x100s. But I do like the HD1 ban still. Even if you can play the map, just ban out your opponent's comfort picks. Good to have them less comfortable. And now, I believe it should be xootynator with the next, or no, it should be enri with the next pick.
DT2 up for the first time.
Yeah, it has to
We might
be
get
the
our
pick.
first DT2 pick.
I would think so.
Is that bait? Can Zooty play this DT2 secretly? She's
We'll
baiting
see.
it?
I think she can play it better than the DT3, is what we've learned from this ban phase. Whether or not, I mean, I think I would say she can probably play the map. But being able to play the map and being able to play it better than enri are two very different things.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that I would be
We've got
risking.
Nomad 4 instead. Okay.
And we have a solo performance.
Yeah. Enri
On her.
protesting, not playing the GT2.
There he is.
Here we go.
Enri, very, very strong tech player. Zooty, generally speaking, quite good at tech as well.
I don't know. I think this is not the pick I expected. Certainly an exciting one because these are both very strong tech players. It seems like Zooty did find an early miss. This is a long enough map that she's going to have lots of time to recover, and it's a very tricky one. Possibly one of the hardest maps in the pool. It is kind of the most tech heavy of all the tech picks. The hard rock and techs are much, much lighter, where this one has really tough slider tech. But it's a very well-rounded tech pick as well. You're going to see aim control tech mixed in, you've got slider tech, you've got some aim tech, and we have seen another miss from enri, a couple hundred combo ago. So xootynator is going to take this score lead back through this slower section, but we've got another KI coming up, and xootynator is going to need to hold on to that combo if she wants to hold on to this advantage. Looking really good so far. It is enri with a very slight accuracy advantage, but that shouldn't matter too much as both players nail that first space stream as we get into, you start to see a little bit more of the in control patterns now in this section.
Both players looking really comfortable. The accuracy pretty close between them, only a few hundred separating them. So it's that 160 combo advantage for Zooty. That's really the only difference here. And the map just never lets up on you, right? Like you said, it's a very consistently high level of difficulty in this tech pick, where you've got a little tapping control, you've got aim control, you've got the longer slider aim as well. So it's throwing all of the aspects of a tech pick at you. And they're handling it quite well as both players continue to build. No breaks in quite some time. There is Zooty falling completely off of that space stream. She's going to lose a bunch of score there. She's going to lose her combo there, and enri is going to jump right on that opportunity as he has an 850 combo as he was able to hold through as Zooty fell, and that is instantly swinging the lead back over 30,000 points into his favor.
Yeah, that's a brutal stream. It's kind of right in the middle of an easier section. Necessarily anticipating, but there goes a big drop from enri. Has built up a 35,000 score difference, but certainly not out of the woods yet. xootynator now has 200 combo advantage, and if neither player finds a miss, xootynator should win, assuming no major accuracy drops, but I do expect we're going to see some more misses into this ending. To the slow section, it gets quite tricky, and I would say it's probably a little bit trickier than the rest of the map into the kind of very last really tricky tech patterning. But there's lots of time for Zooty to make the comeback, and I think the ball is in her court. She should have the advantage as Boncho It's going to build up a little bit of anticipation.
Yeah, I guess
Zooty's back.
Zooty's back. Oh, okay. Well,
All right,
okay.
quick
They're
refresh.
gonna panic here, I think, to hopefully get both players back going into the last moments. It's got to be really.
Zooty's missed.
We did have a break from Zooty. Enri with the lead by 40,000 points or so, assuming that everything is accurate. He's got a very solid act play as well, 99. There goes a big drop from Zooty. That's probably going to seal her fate, unfortunately, with just the last few moments to come. And Enri holding on to a near 500 combo, 99 accuracy. Really solid play, as to be expected. He is on a heater today, man. Enri performing really, really well.
Yeah, and someone to be expected, right? Enri is the 4th seed, played very well in qualifiers, and this is the first pool as well, so maps are a little bit easier, but we've seen some really strong performances from all players, right? Double FC on Nomad 1, we saw a couple FCs from MCY4 in the last match. Now we're seeing, not on this map, but we've seen a couple FCs from Enri, and Enri's going to be up by 4 now. I think xootynator.
5?
Oh, 5. Yep.
That's 5. That's 5-0.
Enri is on match point.
Yeah. This one.
Counting's a little hard sometimes, you know.
It's okay. It happens to the best of us. Enri's that's rank 99.19x. Like, I don't know. He's just playing really well.
So here's how Zooty
Here's
wins.
how Zooty can still win. Okay. I'll bite. What does she pick here?
She picks Hidden 1.
Hidden 1 was banned.
So she unbans Hidden 1.
She unbans Hidden 1, picks it, wins it, and then she unbans Hard Rock 1 and picks and wins Hard Rock 1 as well.
And then she just picks both of those 2 more times each, and then wins 6-5, skipping over the tiebreaker.
No tiebreaker, yeah, because I think Enri would be favored on this TV, right? So.
Yeah, I would think so. The tiebreaker, and I'm not super familiar with it. I skimmed through it. It is very tech heavy, which I do think would favor Enri. But yeah, realistically, I think I'm wondering if Zooty wants to try something like a Nomad 3. I think the alt maps are going to be very map dependent on how comfortable Zooty feels on any given alt pick. Enri is pretty solid on the alt as well, so it's not guaranteed. She's going to go for the Hidden 3 as well. I think this makes a lot of sense. xootynator is one of those players that will slap Hidden on just about anything if she's allowed to. Hidden is very much a comfort mod for her. And this is kind of Hidden aim tech, I guess, is one way to put it. Slider tech is very limited, but there is one very tricky aim control stream section. And aside from this beginning, there's a bit of an easier stream section. And so I think that could be potentially a big breakpoint for either of these players. And we'll see if Zooty can get a point on the board on the Hidden 3, or if Enri will complete our first clean sweep of the tournament.
Yeah, the thing for me with this map is that I do feel that it's a pretty good pick for Zooty, but the problem is their skill sets are such that it's also a pretty good pick for Enri, a player who is very, very strong on hidden tech. So it really just becomes, I guess, your Zooty, you're picking into your own preferences rather than trying to avoid your opponent's preferences, if that makes sense. I kind of think I would have liked to see the Nomad 3 here, but that is all said and done now, so no way to go back and change it. Just because that feels like it would be a good pick for her. But yeah, this is just going to come down to really which of them performs better on the map on the day, because they're both super strong in this type of pick where it involves, a little bit of reading the tech aspects, some cursor control, etc. And you can tell they're both comfortable with it. I mean, look at the accuracy, look at the combo, still holding really high, still holding the FC for both. And just the barest of advantage to Enri so far. A slight accuracy lead, but really nothing to write home about as of yet, as we get into this very tricky aim control flow patterning. And Zooty drops I think that must have been a slider break. I thought 50. Yeah. And I don't want to say it's over or anything, but that's a big advantage for Enri, still holding on to the FC, holding on to a little accuracy lead, and his score lead instantly up to 50k.
Yeah, and we're going to a much easier section now. Obviously, the slow section is just free combo, but Even this kind of slider section's a little bit easier than the previous blow aim section. It does get pretty tricky after this, but enri just has such a big combo advantage. The score lead is up to 100,000, and even if enri found the miss now, xooty would likely need to FC the rest of the map. Both players hitting that space pattern with a third of the map to go. Things
that was cool watching them both hit all that.
It was. It is really cool to watch. Just, I don't know, it's just great to watch the best of the best players play really tricky maps and do things that we could never dream of doing.
And now the writing is a little bit on the wall here for xooty. Unfortunately, has to FC the rest of the map, most importantly, but also needs a fair amount of help from enri, who has a 170,000-ish score lead and does not look to be showing any signs of stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, and at this point, unfortunately, enri will not find the miss. Actually, okay, enri does find the miss, but at this point, it is unfortunately too little too late. I mean, there's 700 combo is quite a lot, but 150,000 to make up in the next 15 seconds is, I mean, I just don't think there's time.
Yeah, it's still 140k. Like, this is just not gonna happen, unfortunately. xooty putting on a really solid score here, but this is just what happens when you miss at that sort of middle portion. Your score does unfortunate things despite hitting the rest of the map. I mean, let's see, they both hit the ending. That's really good. Okay, so that's just incredible. Really good plays from both of them. Like, I think that's like a slider break S rank for both players and very similar accuracy, but just that couple hundred additional combo in the middle of the map gave enri a lead that was never able to be recovered for xootynator, and that is going to be enri with the quick 0 sweep. And man, dude looked unstoppable.
He did. We've got a few players that have looked fantastic so far, and it does feels like a pretty bad matchup for xooty stylistically, right? You mentioned before the hidden 3 that I feel like against most players, xootynator can pick into the aim and can pick into the hidden. Right, and generally has advantage on all the hiddens and then most of the aim picks. But enri is one of the strongest hidden players in the game, and so she doesn't have that same advantage on the hidden because enri is just as capable of playing the hidden. So it will be our first sweep of the tournament. But both players had some really good scores. The double FC on Nomad 1 was absolutely insane. Both had really good scores on the hidden 3. And both players are going to be scary in the rest of the tournament. enri is going to be facing off against Flying Tuna in the next round, 4 versus 5 seeds, and xootynator will drop to the losers bracket where she faces off against Nunnarik. That should be an interesting one. It's going to be aim versus speed.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of kind of similar stylistic matchups so far, and we're just going to continue it next round, I guess. You know, we had Tuna versus Ninrik, Forum versus Secret Box, MCY4 versus Jaconi. Now we're going to get xooty versus Ninrik, where it's literally just, you know, a relatively rounded player against the speed specialist. So, going to be an interesting one. But it's been a fairly one-sided day. It's kind of unfortunate. You know, we've seen 2 6-1s, a 6-2, and now a 6-0 as well. So we do have some super competitive matches still to come tomorrow. I think we have tonight at 4 UTC Emrek Taquito. That's the next match. And then tomorrow, of course, we get Malashevsky versus Window Life, Decaton versus Scroll. Really good matchup on paper. And possibly match of the week, Intercambing versus Kriller. That is going to be one of the matches that I am most looking out for. That one's tomorrow, 16, I believe, UTC. That's going to be an insane matchup. So definitely don't want to miss out on any of the 4 remaining matchups here in round of 16.
No, there's a lot of exciting ones. I think tomorrow is going to be a lot more competitive, and I think those are some of the matches that we predicted would be some of the closest. But I think that will be it for us. So one more time, our next match is 4 UTC Sunday, Emrek versus Taquito. Hopefully we will see you guys back for that. But that is going to be it for us today. Once again, huge congratulations to our winners today, MCY4 and enri. I've been iFlame, joined by T1G. Thank you to Cavo for the stream, K for the West, and finally, thank you guys all so much for watching. We greatly appreciate your support, And I hope you all have a good rest of your morning, day, or night. Take care.